All right, we are going to continue with factoring quadratics, and in our part 2 of the lesson, we're going to add on the solving part. Okay, so our very first example, let's pretend like we have already done all of the factoring steps, okay? And now we have got it down to the two parentheses like we did in our last lesson. Okay, so now you'll notice that we have the two parentheses and we have the equal sign, because that's how we know we're solving, is because the problem now has an equal sign, and it will always say equals 0. So for the solving step, what you're going to do is you're going to take each parentheses, each piece, and set it equal to 0. So x plus 7 equals 0, and then 9x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so now we're going to work on solving each one. So on the first one, to move a positive 7, you would subtract it. So you have x equals negative 7, and that is your first answer. On the second one, to get rid of the negative 5, you would add 5. So now you have 9x equals positive 5. And then you want to get rid of the 9 in front of the x, so you would divide that. So your second one is x equals 5 over 9. Okay. So then we have two answers, and they are negative 7 and x equals positive 5 over 9. So if we look at the next problem, now we're going to tie it all in together. Everything we did with the regular factoring and the solving. So here's one tip for you. In the original problem, if you look at the highest exponent, okay, and the highest exponent is what we call the degree. Okay, if the degree is 2, then that tells you that this problem will have two answers. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of jot that up here. The highest exponent, which is what we call the degree, will tell you how many answers So it tells that you have, in this case, how many answers you will have. And in our case, we will have 2. And if you scan through all of these problems, I believe our highest exponent is always 2. So you need to know that all quadratics will have 2 answers. Okay? So remember from our previous lesson, you need to make sure that all terms are on the same side. So i.e. it must equal 0 before we even start with our normal factoring steps. Okay? So all terms are on the same side, so we're good to go. So check for a GCF. And I notice that all of these numbers are divisible by 4. So let's take out a 4. And that gives me x squared plus 1x minus 12. Okay, so now I'm going to make the x. And when I make the x 1, because 1 in front of x squared, 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. The middle is 1. So what multiplies for negative 12? That adds for 1. Well, if you're multiplying for a negative, that means you have to have 1 negative and 1 positive. And hopefully everybody says, oh, 4 and 3. And it's going to be a negative 3 and positive 4 if I want a positive 1. So now this is where you have to decide, do I make the box or can I skip the box? So if I look, a is 1 because the number in front of x squared is 1. So we get to skip the box. So we're going to go straight to our two parentheses. So we're going to go x, x. So make sure you pick your side numbers. And -3 goes in one parentheses. +4 goes in another parentheses. Okay, keep your GCF. Our GCF number was 4, so make sure you keep that out in front of your parentheses. And then equals 0. So now we're going to take each part and set it equal to 0. So GCF equals 0. First parentheses equals 0. Second parentheses equals 0. With my GCF, is there any variable with my GCF? No, there is no variable here. There's no letter X. There's no way to solve this for anything. So this does not count as an answer because there's no variable. So no variable with this, so there's no answer. Okay, so no variable, no answer. So if I go to the next part, we're just going to add the 3 over, so x equals +3. And this one, we're going to move the 4 over by subtracting it, so x equals -4. And remember, we're only supposed to have 2 answers, so 3 and -4 is it. Now when you get to the third one, it doesn't equal 0. So before I can start anything, I need to make sure I move all the terms to the same side. So I would start by taking this 10 and subtracting it over. Make sure you line it up with its like term. And then I'm going to take this -8x and add it over. And make sure you line it up with the regular x. Do not line it up with the x squared because that's not its like term. So you're going to keep 4x squared. Combine your x's for 10x. Combine your plain number for -24 equals 0. So remember, it must always equal 0 before you start. Now, check for GCF. And yes, it has a GCF. All the numbers are divisible by 2. So 2 parentheses. And then when you divide by 2, you get 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 equals 0. So now let's make the x. 2 times -12 is -24. The middle is 5. What multiplies for -24 that adds for 5? Well, you got to have one negative and one positive. And that would be 8 and 3. So you're going to have -3, +8. Okay, box or no box. Your A is 2, so that means you have to make the box. So since we're going to make the box, I'm going to list out my 4 terms. So 2x squared. Remember, don't write the b. Instead of writing the b, put our 2 side numbers in here. So -3x plus 8x minus 12. And then I'm going to take those 4 terms and put them inside the box. So 2x squared minus 3x plus 8x minus 12. Okay. If I look up and down, 2 and 8 are both divisible by 2, and each one has an x. Now I'll switch to multiplying. 2x times x makes 2x squared. X times -3 makes negative 3x. 2x times 4 makes 8x. And let's make sure it's right. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, so we're correct. Okay, let's make our two parentheses. So 2x minus 3, x plus 4. Okay, don't forget we have a GCF. So bring your GCF number down and put it in front of your parentheses, equals 0. Okay, set each part equal to 0. So 2 equals 0, parentheses equals 0, second parentheses equals 0. 2 equals 0 doesn't have a variable, so I can't solve that, so I'm just going to put a slash through it. For this one, move the negative 3 over and it becomes positive. Divide by 2, so x equals 3 over 2. And for the second one, move the positive 4 over and it becomes negative 4. And now you got your two answers. Okay, the last one. This one equals 0, so I don't have to move any terms. And then this one I notice only has 2 terms and it's missing b. So if it's missing b, this makes it the difference of squares. So for the difference of squares, this is where I go, oh, I know to get x squared, I would do x times x. To get 81, I would do 9 times 9. So then I would have x minus 9, x plus 9, because remember you have to have one parentheses as a plus, one parentheses as a minus to make sure you have no middle term. Set each parentheses equal to 0, so x minus 9 equals 0, x plus 9 equals 0. So move negative 9 over and it becomes positive 9. Move positive 9 over and it becomes negative 9. And we have our two answers done. Okay. Solving steps. Okay. Okay. Make sure that the equation equals 0 before you start. And then you want to go back and do all of our factoring steps from our last lesson. So complete all the factoring steps. Then you want to set each part equal to 0. And then solve for x or whatever your variable is. And then remember all quadratics, which I'm going to abbreviate as quad, all quadratics will have 2 answers. Okay, that's a quick recap.